I actually had your IMDb up because it's got one of the most comical. I don't want to say comical, but like I wouldn't put it in my CV. Descriptions of someone.
Like what? Such as what?
I'm gonna bring it up. I'm gonna bring it up, and I'll read it out to you. And you can tell me if you wrote this yourself. Was this part of your CV? And
I never put that. I never put that IMDb page up. But there probably are a lot of quotes that I most definitely did say. But somebody else put the IMDb thing up years ago because, as I mentioned, I'm technologically impaired. So some of the stuff, I'll tell you if it's true. I'll tell you if it's not true.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, we're just waiting my deeply slow computer navigating towards the source so I can read it. I should have had this set up, but like I was all flustered making my coffee and getting ready. Okay, here is the quote. Tall, leggy, and extremely well built, statuesque blonde actress Laurene Landon has enlivened a bunch of hugely enjoyable movies with her spunky energy and physical dexterity, bubbly, upbeat personality, and considerable sex appeal. You didn't write this.
Did not write it. Somebody else wrote it. His name is on there. I do not know who the person is. He's the same person who put up that IMDb page a long time ago. I don't have the hey?
We'll not expose him for who he is, but I find this to be a great introduction. I was thinking about just copying and pasting it to my CV and taking your name out and putting my name in.
You can do that.
See how far I go. So you're originally from Canada, right?
Yes, sir, I am.
Yes. What took you to the sunny state of California?
Well, when I was about 4 years old, my mom and dad wanted to come down. For many, many years, they applied and tried to get citizenship for my brother, my sister, and myself. And my little sister, Charmaine, was born down here much later. But it took my parents about 12 years to try to get down here. And, you know, that's the issue I have with politics. And I'm not going to go into it except to say.
Well, there's no need to go into politics. What was it took them to LA? I'm not sure what part of Canada you're from. Was it cold?
I'm from Toronto, Yeah, I'm from Toronto. And I've been back there many, many times, especially when my daddy was alive. And then he moved to Vancouver, where all my other relatives live. So I would go visit him, and I would fly him down here every Father's Day and on his birthday, and you know, on special occasions and all that. You know, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But so you came when you were 4?
Yes, I did. I came when I was 4. And my older sister was about 7 or 8. But my parents wanted us to have a better life, and they planned to have children, and so they waited about 10 to 12 years to get down here. Mm-hmm. And that's why I have an issue here in the United States with people crossing the borders. As I look at the United States like this, okay? I look at the U.S. as a raft, and you can only put so many people on a raft before the raft explodes or sinks. And in addition to that, I go back to my mom and dad, who waited so very, very long to get us over here legally. And I see all these people coming left and right, and a lot of them are terrorists. A lot of them are bad guys. And I just don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair. But that's my personal situation, my personal feelings, and everybody feels as they do, So I just say how I feel. I can't really speak for anybody else.
That's true, but like you know, I can speak for a majority of Americans. I hear they don't like Canadians. I'm just joking, of course. I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
They hate us. Most people hate Canadians. I'm kidding.
At what age did you decide to partake in an acting career?
I was probably I was probably in the third grade, but my father, when he came down here, would always show us kids the old movies, right? The great old movies, Wuthering Heights and Marlon Brando movies and Jimmy Stewart and, just all the great old movies. And I would always wonder, wow, what is it like when I was a kid? What's it like to be on the other side of this TV screen? What is it like?
What is it like? Is it like being broke all the time?
There are periods, yeah. There are periods where you have to do other things. A lot of people in LA have to do other things, and God bless them that they do. I've been very fortunate that I saved up a lot of money, and I also work with Larry Cohen on screenplays a lot.
Mhm.
And I was able to afford this amazing house that I live in, which is a historical monument.
Could you tell me about the screenplays you worked with Larry Cohen?
Yeah, Father Time, which is a typical knife-wielding, revenge-seeking psycho thriller. And yeah, but it takes place New Year's Eve. So, we wrote that together, and a couple of other projects. One is huge that I had to sign a non-disclosure confidentiality agreement.
Right. Okay.
So I can't talk about.
We'll not talk about that. It's the one we
number
can't.
2. It was number 2 at the movie theater.
Don't reveal anything, otherwise he might come after you.
But I'll show you the non-disclosure agreement if you want.
Well, I don't even know. That's kind of a disclosure. You don't want to do you don't want to be like what's the name of that woman who's she's taking her own lawyer to court to prove that she has a non-disclosure with Trump. This is like the most. Let's not get it.
You mean Stormy Daniels?
Yeah. She's going the most crazy way of getting around the non-disclosure I ever saw in my life.
She's getting her not 15 minutes. She's getting her 15 years of fame out of this one night stand, which was probably a blowjob, if you ask me, from the way everything's framed, formatted.
We could just speculate. Let's not get ourselves into any sort of legal trouble right now.
Oh, whatever. It's all so stupid. It's also. I mean.
I know, but it's a wonderful. It's a shit show, as they say.
It is. That's a great way to look at it. It is a shit show.
Okay, don't take this the wrong way. Speaking of shit shows, let's get into your career here. I'm joking.
Exactly. No, I'm not.
No. You had a lot of success as an actress, and I always remember you from 2 movies myself. And Airplane 2, for some reason, you stand out in my memory as being the woman from Airplane 2.
Thank you.
But I was a big fan of Maniac Cop.
Oh yes, I get recognized. Believe it or not, I get recognized for all the marbles. The wrestling film that I did with Peter Falk, Robert.
Okay, let's get into that. That's got 2 names. I'd never heard of this movie, and it was whenever I was doing some research, I was surprised to see you were in a film with Peter Falk. What was he like?
Well, he was very dedicated, very focused, and he was always changing the script. So he would blame it on us, on Vicky Frederick and myself. But Robert Aldrich was smart enough to know that these 2 girls, Vicky was from New York, I was from Canada. And Robert Aldrich knew that, we were like 20 years old. Vicky was a few years older than myself. But Robert Aldrich knew when we were rehearsing each scene, we would go to Peter Falk's room the night before, and Peter Falk had all the script completely changed. So it had nothing to do with the scene at hand. But we were so paranoid and so terrified of getting fired that we went along with Peter. And the next day when we would be in rehearsal, wherever we were filming, Robert Aldrich would say, you and you, meaning Peter, Vicky, and myself, get outside now. So he'd say to Vicky and myself, you're fired. You are fired. Call your agents, call your managers. I don't care, but you're fired. And then he would lay into Peter, and Peter would say, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have nothing to do with it. And so that one night I went and knocked on Robert Aldrich's door. His wife answered, and I said, could I please talk to Mr. Aldrich? And it was very early on in the filming. And they initially had seen 2,000 women to play these two parts. So it was quite an honor. And Kathleen Turner was one of them. Peter Falk's wife was one of the potential wrestler actresses. What they did initially was they went looking for wrestlers that they could train to act, but they couldn't. So they went the opposite direction. They went and looked for actresses that they could train to wrestle. So 2,000 girls later, they narrowed it down to 12, and we were screen tested. And then from that, there were 4 of us after the screen test. And I got a call from David Beagleman. I got a call from Mr. Aldrich, a lot of people, and they said, you're in the top 4. And I was stunned. So we had to continue wrestling for the heads of the studio, David Beagleman and Bob Mackey, the designer for the clothes. Anyway, at the end of it, they called us in, and a couple of the girls went out the back door, and then they called me in, and Robert Aldrich was sitting there with his son. And Robert Aldrich, as you may know, directed The Dirty Dozen, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, The Longest Yard, and is considered one of the top 10 directors in the history of cinema. So imagine my shock being 19, I think it was 19 years old. Yeah. And so he called me in and he said, Alf, because he called me Alf. I don't know why until later I found out. But he said, Alf, you worked your ass off in rehearsal. You did a really great job. You're crazy as a loon, which I love. You're uninhibited. And he's staring out the window the whole time he's saying this, eh? So he's staring out the window, and then he's just shaking his head. Yeah, you did try really hard. And then he says, but and I said, but you don't want me in your film, right? You don't want me in your film. And I started to cry. And he looks at me and he says, no. I'm saying, but because you're not going to play Iris. You wanted to play Iris, I remember. You're going to play Molly. And I said, what? You want me in your film? That's how naive and stupid I was. Mm-hmm. I said, you want me in your film? And he says, well, you're from Canada. I'll let that one go. So he says, go outside and tell Vicky she didn't get it. Tell her it looks real bad for her. So I said, I really don't feel comfortable telling her that. And he said, get out there and do it. So I said, yes, sir, Mr. Aldrich, sir. So I went outside, toddled outside, and Vicki Frederick was sitting outside. And Vicki was a very famous dancer on Broadway. She did Chorus Line and so many fascinating musicals on Broadway. And so she was very limber, a fabulous athlete, and a very good actress. So I went outside, and she's sitting outside, and she says, well, what happened? What happened? What happened? And I said, well, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. And she said, what do you mean it doesn't look good? And I said, I'm sorry. It's just, you better go in and talk to him because it's real bad. And she says, shh, I won't go into it. So she walks in, and then I'm sitting outside, and then I hear Vicky scream something to the effect, I'm going to kill you, Laurene. I'm going to kill you, Laurene. And Robert Aldrich did it as a joke, eh? He did the whole thing as a joke, which was fine. But that's what happened with all the marbles. And Richard Jekyll was in it too. And there were so many really big hitters in it. Initially, Paul Newman was going to do it. Well, Paul Newman, yes, he signed to do it, but he got another film. I think it was Color of Money, maybe not, but he got another film at the last minute. So they went for Peter Falk.
Well, there's nothing wrong with Falk. I've never seen Falk, and he's been awful. Like, he's always good.
Oh, he's
you know what I mean?
Yeah, he was an incredible actor, and absolutely out of his mind, and because
Really?
he had a very sardonic wit, as I do, so we got along fantastic. And he always would talk in his trailer. He would talk to a ladder. He would talk to anything. He would just rehearse his line, talk to a lamp, And so if you walked in and knocked on his door, he'd be rehearsing to a ladder, and then he'd look at, or a magnifying glass. And he was absolutely wonderful to work with. Mean Joe Green was in it. Just so many people were in the movie.
Can you tell me about the training you had to do as a wrestler? What sort of moves did you have to learn?
Well, what happened was the four of us were training. We were wrestling in the valley with some very professional wrestlers, and the girls that trained us were from Mexico.
Could you name any names? Would any of them be nameable? Could you name any names of the wrestlers who trained you?
Mildred Burke. She was the most famous lady wrestler in history, Mildred Burke. She was much older than us, but she had some wrestlers from Mexico. 3 were girls and 2 were guys, and they were ruthless, and they were sometimes violent, which I loved, because I was always very, very competitive growing up, and I still am. And I always did my own stunts. And one of the pleasures for me of doing this film was that I was able to do my own wrestling, and that and no doubles. And after the movie came out, people would call me constantly, or email me, or text me, or something, and say that you could not have possibly done those wrestling moves. Well, we did do those wrestling moves. Nobody doubled us, and Vicky Frederick and I were the only ones during the actors' strike. Mm-hmm. We went and wrestled. We went and rehearsed, and we were, I guess, so committed and not ruthless, but Vicky and I had the passion and the perseverance, I feel, that really got us the part. Because, as I said, I'm sorry for my phone.
No, you're okay.
That's Steven Spielberg calling again.
Oh, such a pain.
I have to block him. I'm joking, of course. Anyway, so Vicky Frederick and myself were very determined to get the part, and we loved the roles, and so that's how I got the part. I tell the story, and it's never been really debated, because I've never deviated from the truth, and that's what happened with that movie.
But well, let's get on to some more of your movies from 1982. Obviously, I mentioned Airplane 2, the sequel. Yeah. How did you land that one?
I got it because of all the marbles, and actually all the marbles in I, the Jury. I starred in I, the Jury with Armand Assante.
Oh, I just wanted to get into that next. I was leaving that to last.
Okay.
We'll come back to I, the Jury, but okay. So you were in that just before Airplane 2. Let's cover that now then. So you were in I, the Jury, where you played Velda.
Yes, I did.
To Mike Hammer. You were Mike Hammer's secretary.
Yeah.
I was always a big fan of Mickey Spillane after I picked up. I picked up Vengeance is Mine for very cheap in a bookshop, and I started reading it, but I never finished it. Like, I do this with a lot of books. Vengeance is Mine, but I loved the way Spillane was talking. Spillane actually played Mike Hammer one time in a movie. Imagine writing a book which gets turned into a movie, and then you play the main character. That's just ridiculous, I think. But he was a crazy guy. Did you get a chance to meet Mickey Spillane during the production of that? Or?
No, I never got a chance to meet him. I don't know where he was living at the time. We filmed it in New York, upstate New York, in Bear Mountain. And it was a great opportunity to work with Armand Assante. And he kept changing the dialogue too, by the way.
Really? Was he one of those types like Peter Falk? He would try to...
Yeah, he kept saying to me, first of all, I was much taller than him because I'm very tall. I'm 5'10" in class. So,
are you telling me Armand Assante is a short man? He's a little short man?
Oh, I'd say he's 5'10", but you know, when I had on heels, I was 6 feet tall, right?
Okay.
At least. So he would push me down, and say, "You're too tall. You're too," and push me down. But he would change the sides, the dialogue, and he would tell the director, Richard Heffron, "There's no way Velda would say this or do this because Velda's not that smart," you know, that kind of thing.
Right.
And so, and that really, really pissed off Richard Heffron, and he strangled him one time up at Bear Mountain.
He put his hands on him.
He strangled him.
Like literally.
Like this. He strangled him. He's, you know, he called him every abusive expletive you can imagine.
Could you quote some of these?
Eh?
What's that? Could you quote me some of the words he might have called Arsanti?
Listen, motherfucker. It's in the book. Velda is a very, very smart woman, and she would say this, and she would know how to do this, and she would know how to use a gun, and she would know how, you know, to do all the things that she does. It's in the book. It's staying in the movie. And so it was really funny because I was, you know, I was amenable to anything that they wanted, but you know, directors and stars, you know, have their issues and creative differences and so forth. So I was just trying to go along and, you know, do what I was told to do. That's all.
I think that's I think you're probably the best Velda on screen. To be honest with you, I'm not trying to blow smoke up you or anything here.
You know, Robert, who was it that passed away? Famous critic, Roger Ebert said the same thing.
Yeah,
he said the same thing. And I never looked at any of the. I never looked at. Thank you kindly for saying that. I never looked at any other Velda. I never looked at. I don't think you
get a chance to. I think she's squashed as far as portrayals are, you know, in other movies. I never watched the TV show with what was the name of the Stacy Keach that came a couple of years later. I'm aware of it, but
I was offered that role, but my agents at ICM told me not to do it. So
really,
yeah, I was offered the role,
well, in reading about it, I heard it ran for 3 years, so that would have been some constant work.
Yeah.
At the same time,
I wish I had done it.
No, but I think at the same time that was being made, I think Maniac Cop was being made. So, you know, that would have taken you out of one realm and put you in another, you know?
Well, what my agents at ICM wanted me to do was focus on being in feature films and see what happened with me. I was very blessed. What happened with me was a miracle. What happened with me was I started at the top making feature films, whereas a lot of actors start in television and work their way up to be movie actors, eh? So my agents at ICM wanted me to stay at the top, and you know, that linear thing, whatever. And I wanted to do the TV series, but you know, I was on the fence about it because I wanted to stay in feature films, but I also knew that the TV series was a smash. And so that's what happened with I, the Jury.
I'm not so aware of the TV shows. So, some other people have talked to me about it, but I've never gone back. Which is funny because whenever I see Stacy Keach, she has very similar appearance to Arsanti. But I still can't get over that story you told me where Arsanti had the hands wrapped around his neck. That's a great story.
Richard Heffron did it up at Bear Mountain. Yeah, it wasn't the first time. They came to blows quite a few times about you know, creative differences. That's all I'm going to say, without getting in trouble or sued.
These are just stories, you know. You're just regaling the stories that you may have heard. This is what you hear from the set. This is something you heard, you know. It's not necessarily.
That's something I heard. It's something I experienced and lived.
Oh well, it's just a direct quote. Then you know, it's not something you can get done for if you're like, this is something that actually happened. You know, we're not gonna get stopped in any way here. So tell me about Airplane 2.
Well, I got Airplane 2 because of all the marbles and because of I the jury. They called my agents at ICM, and I met with Howard Koch and Ken Finkelman, the director, and I didn't have to read for the part, thank God, because I'm not that great at auditions. Nowadays, thank God, I just get offered films, and I get offered a lot of scripts all the time, but some of them don't have funding, eh? So, what's the point in reading them if there's no funding?
Well, I think sometimes if you can attach someone like yourself to a project, funding can come to it. So
I'm not that important. I'm not that important. I'm not that important.
In your mind. I wouldn't be interviewing you if you weren't important. Come on now. I only get the best for this show. My chat knows this. I'm not even making up a joke here. Like, I went out of my way to get the interview because we deem you important.
That was so funny how you contacted me last night on Twitter. It was so funny how I'm really, really busy, as I'm sure you are.
I understand.
I'm busy in rehearsal now for Robo Woman. I just finished Agrimon's Gate that I star in, a horror thriller, suspense horror thriller. And they're talking about the feedback I'm getting on a continuum is that I'm going to be winning a lot of awards. This is from the director, this is from the executive producer, and everybody. So, and my manager, who Joe Williamson, who is I'm very, very grateful to have. So I'm just I'm very blessed at my age to be working as much as I am. And, I took 9 years off of my life in the film business to take care of my mom and my dad. Yeah. My mom was quite ill. And then my father had a cardiac arrest in Vancouver and was on life support. He was clinically dead for 13 minutes, and I rushed up there, and he was on life support for a week. And but by the grace of God, he came back. I kept playing opera, UC Burling, and Enrico Caruso. And one day he squeezed my hand, and he came back, but he had massive brain damage, encephalopathy, it's called. So I snuck him across the border in 1988, Halloween of 1988. And he had an OHS surgery that I fought for because he needed open heart surgery. And they said, no, he's a cabbage. And that really, really pissed me off. They pissed off the wrong person. I'm going to put it that way. So I went to the Black Tower next door and demanded to speak to the president of the hospital, but I couldn't get to him. But I got the vice president of the hospital, and he said, no, he's a cabbage. I already saw him. He's a cabbage, your father. And I said, well, you can do keyhole procedure. You can do a 5-way bypass. And I went into all these medical terms that I had memorized from the Texas Heart Institute. So this man, this vice president of the hospital, didn't know what the hell capacity of medicine I was in. He thought I was a lawyer. And I said, it's not important what I do. What's important is what you're going to do for my father. And then somebody came and whispered to him, and he says, oh my God, you're Laurene Landon. You're an actress from Los Angeles. You're an actress. I know who you are. And I said, it's not important who I am. What's important is what you're going to do for my father. So they got him his OHS, and then he developed bladder cancer up there. And they wouldn't do anything for him. So Halloween, just before his surgery, his OHS, I said, when he was on the gurney, when they were taking him in, they said, there's a 50% he's not going to survive. And I said, I'll take that 50%. I'll take it. Because I had moved him by now to St. Paul's Hospital, St. Paul, which is a much better hospital than Burnaby General. That was not even, I found out, an accredited hospital. And keep in mind, at the time in 1998, all the hospitals in Vancouver were closing down, were shutting down, because the BC Ministry of Health was in virtual collapse. So I took him by ambulance from Burnaby General, who weren't doing anything, and I rushed him over to St. Paul's, where he ultimately got his OHS, and then it was bleeding, and it was bladder cancer, and so I snuck him across the border Halloween of '98, and I took care of him with my sisters, Kathy and Charmaine. Yeah, I took care of my mom and dad.
And what of your brother at this point?
Hey, sorry.
What of your brother at this point in time?
What about my brother? I don't talk to my brother.
Okay, sorry. I'll not get into that. I just asked.
You wouldn't believe the story, what happened, and why I don't speak to my brother. I'm not even going to go there.
Right, it's okay. Like,
and I'm not going to. But if he ever sees this, he'll know exactly why. What happened? What he did.
Don't worry about it. If it's on my channel, no one's going to see it.
I still talk to him after that. I saw him about 4 or 5 months ago. I took him to dinner. Him and his girlfriend. To Larry's. I took him for dinner. So yeah.
Well, I'm just gonna keep this light and take some questions from the chat. Some people asking when Airplane 3 is out. Have you been approached for anything like that?
That's so funny that you say that. Thank you, whoever asked the question. Thank you kindly. What's the person's name?
They have a fake name. I think they're probably a troll, but they're asking a silly question. But it's not so silly, so let's get it through.
What is
they don't have a real.
What's the question?
They asked when's Airplane 3 on.
Okay. They shot enough footage for Airplane 3 and Airplane 4. That's how much footage they shot. And because it was an ensemble cast, as you know, everybody was in it. So my part was much bigger. Everybody's part was much bigger. So they were going to do Airplane 3, right? But for some reason, it never happened. They shot probably 20, 25 hours of footage for Airplane 2 alone. Yeah. But I don't know why they never made Airplane 3. So that's why all of our parts are small, because it was, like I said, it was an ensemble cast.
So you're saying there's enough footage out there that like a time blocked after Airplane 2, and everybody could be in there. Like Shatner could even be in there still.
He was a riot, wasn't he?
Yeah,
wasn't he so funny?
He was wonderful. I always remember Airplane 2 with the shushy doors. Such a funny gag, you know.
There's a funny gag. I think of the entire movie. Most people don't even remember it. Most people say to me, "Oh no, this was funny. Oh, here's the greatest scene in the movie." And I say, "No, it's the one with William Shatner." And they say, "What scene was that?" And whatever.
Where he's introduced, where he's the head on the screen, but it turns out it's just the door, you know.
Yeah, that was it. I didn't know. I read the script, but I when I read the script, you read it just kind of really fast because
you say there was a script to that, but they overshot stuff, or were they making stuff? Were they making stuff up?
We did a lot of improv on the set, and we did use the script. Yes, we did use the screenplay, but there was a tremendous amount of improvisation and more dialogue in the film. So, yeah, people remember me from that movie. I get recognized all the time still from that movie.
All right, we got another silly question from the chat, and then I'll take it back to Airplane 2. What sect of Zion are you? I think that's some sort of Scientology question, but that's obviously anyone from California that get asked about, are they in this nonsense or not? I don't know. Are you in this?
Scientology?
Yeah.
You're joking, right?
No, someone in chat said it. I'm not saying it. I'm just reading the question out.
Oh, no.
I'm just...
All right.
It's a funny question, and you're a funny person.
I'm Catholic. I go to church every Sunday. I'm a
Catholic.
Even worse.
That's even worse. You know, at the end of the day, that's a cult. I'm joking, of course.
Well, No,
Okay.
I'm not in Scientology, but I know a lot of people that are.
Really? Okay. Well, we'll not get into that because they'll come after
I'm not
this.
going to name any names, but
Don't.
there are people that are friends of mine that are in the cult. I call it a cult. It's a cult.
Yeah, but they're nice people though. They're nice people. Let's leave it at that because we don't want anything bad to happen to the editor.
All right.
Like, let's come back to Airplane 2. What was Leslie Nielsen like?
He was insane.
What do you mean by that?
He was just making jokes all the time and teasing, and he would talk to you like he was serious, but he was being facetious the whole time. And
just as he is in the movie, he's very deadpan.
I'm sorry?
Just as he is in the movie, he's very deadpan. Very
deadpan. But he would make comments to people and act like he was serious, but he was joking. He was a wonderful, wonderful actor, and even nicer off camera. Some actors are absolute idiots, to say the least. But he was a doll, and so was Sonny Bono. Sonny Bono and I became very, very good friends.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Were you good friends with Cher as well?
He wasn't married to Cher. He was with Susie Coelho at the time. And no, Cher was way before that. They had broken up a long time ago. So he was with Susie, and so we used to hang out. He was a sweetheart.
Oh,
wish
okay.
I could say something bad. I wish I could say something evil, terrible about him, but I can't. Yeah.
Look, I'm not after any sort of, like, if we run into it, like the Armand Desante stuff, fine, we'll take it. But I'm not after any gossip here. There's a couple of films I see in your body of work that I'm not aware of. Hundra, that looks like it could be in the spirit Conan the Barbarian.
I am. I'm a female Conan. Hold on, I'll get you the poster.
All right. Well, I'll just talk while we're waiting for the poster to come. How's everyone in the chat? Anyone? If obviously this is pre-recorded, so anyone who's watching this later, the chat's probably up. I hope you're all having a nice day, whatever year of the Lord.
Here I am. Can you see it? Can you see it, John?
Oh yes, this is amazing. This is a great poster. We might actually have to take this and use it as the screenshot for this interview, because at the minute we just got a picture from Maniac Cop with you holding a shotgun. It looks pretty good, but we'll see.
I have Maniac Cop too. You want to see it?
Yeah, sure. You know, funny story about Maniac Cop 2 is I've never actually sat down to watch it, but I remember my friend trying to describe the sequels to Maniac Cop, that Robert Davi plays a hat-wearing detective.
Here you go.
Oh, did you make it to the cover as well? And Bruce is in the cover too.
Can you see
Oh
this?
no, those are just those are images put on top. I see. Yeah, that's an amazing poster.
It
You
is.
don't keep these hung up though. You just keep them on display.
No, not at all. Because I live in a historical monument, eh? So because I own a historical monument that you're not allowed to bang a damn nail in the wall.
Okay, I understand. When you say historical monument, like I don't want to give too much away or anything in case people come around your house, but is it like a fort or?
It's a craftsman home. It was built by the Green and Green brothers in the early 1900s.
What sort of craftsman's home is it? Is it like a forge or something?
No, it's if you look up craftsman homes, if you look up Green, Greene, Green and Green, I live in the only Green and Green in Los Angeles. All the others are in Pasadena, and the homes were built by Henry and Charles Green in the 1800s and early 1900s. Right. And they are this is a historical monument that I live in. I'm not going to say the name of the house because I have a few stalkers as it is.
that's what I was saying. Like, it's gonna get worse now because you've already said this is the only one in the particular place. So like now people are gonna be like,
it's okay because I have pit bulls and I rescue pit bulls. And if nothing else comes out of this interview, the most important thing that I would like to say is I implore people to look up the horrors of puppy mills and to rescue, because there are over 6 million dogs and cats in shelters every year. Half of those animal companions are put to death, euthanized. And I rescue pit bulls. I have for years. And I have Moses right now and the gizzard. And I'm on Facebook. And you can see pictures constantly of my dogs, especially Moses, because the gizzard is quite old and is quite ill with cancer. So,
but tell me this: a lot of people, there's a lot of talk these days about pit bulls being a very dangerous breed. Have you ever had any trouble with them, or
never.
have you always been a pit bull lover?
No. We grew up with Samoyeds. How about you?
I'm not even sure what Samoyeds is. Could you explain?
Siberian dogs. They were from Iran initially. They guarded the palaces. They're very, very fluffy, beautiful dogs. They kind of look like wolves. They're covered in white fur. We always got rescues when we were kids. Rescue Samoyeds. That's what Mom and Daddy loved. So, but when I got older, I fell in love with pit bulls and rescues in general. I've been in many cages where most of the dogs in shelters are pit bulls. Most of them, 80% are pit bulls that nobody wants. And they are they're really called Staffordshire Terriers. Staffordshire Terriers.
Did your love for the pit bull come before owning one or after owning one?
I don't remember when it happened.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember when, but I cannot emphasize enough how this breed of dog has gotten a terrible, terrible name because of Michael Vick, obviously. And
Michael Vick was
one of the famous football players who tortured pit bulls.
Of course, right?
Yeah, and he was using them for dogfighting purposes and torturing them and electrocuting them. So
you have to forgive me. I'm not aware of this story, so I'm a little bit ignorant.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Actually, that's a good thing, I think. But anyway, please look up the horrors of puppy mills. Please do not ever buy a purebred. Every time you buy a purebred, it's coming from a puppy mill or a backyard breeder. I'm not trying to be preachy because I'm never preachy, but this I cannot emphasize enough. Every time you buy a purebred dog, it is coming from a puppy mill. And what they do at puppy mills, they're trying to shut them all down. They're slowly but surely, because people are getting the word out about the horrors of puppy mills. They stack the cages one on top of the other, eh? Mm-hmm. And they breed the mother until she can no longer breed, and then they strangle her, or they kill her, or they throw them in the garbage. And plus the feces and the urine on the cages, on top of cages, right, of these purebreds. Half of the puppies die, and just please don't breed for greed. Don't go and buy a purebred. That's what I call it, breed for greed.
That's a good catchphrase. It's a good tagline for what the operation is. That's what I mean.
Oh, I know.
I think it's good.
Thank you.
Anyway, I'm going to bring it back to movies now because
no more dogs.
I don't know that much about dogs, so like I'm just going to keep bringing it back to movies just to keep it going. So tell me a little bit about 100 because it looks of interest. It's a great looking poster, but I haven't seen the movie.
What?
I can't see every movie, and I set this interview up so quickly I didn't even get a chance to go back to look at movies you've been in. So I'm doing this off my own personal vault memory, but I've never seen 100.
Well, I play a female Conan. I do 38 stunts in the film, I did all the stunts on my own. Nobody doubled me except for one stunt, and that was falling from a tower 90 feet in El Maria. Yeah, I did all the stunts, sword fighting, bows and arrows, jumping off of buildings onto horses. I did stunts that the stuntmen would not do. And a lot of stuntmen quit because they said when we were sword fighting, I was really trying to kill them.
But
and I was.
That makes it look good in the movie.
I call them Mariquitas, which means never mind. But a lot of them quit. A lot of them quit. A lot of the stuntmen quit because they said I was truly trying to kill them in the sword fighting because we used real swords, to make it look believable. You have to see the film. We had a screening at the Egyptian Theater 3 weeks ago, and it was sold out. The screening was sold out.
I want to lead into the follow-up you did with Matt Clymer, the director. Matt Keimer. Sorry, my mistake.
Matt Simber.
Mike Simber. I'm mispronouncing it. My apologies. I'm an idiot.
No worries. I love your accent, by the way. Are you Irish?
Yes.
I love your accent.
Let's talk about Yellow Hair and the Fortress of Gold. Now, this is a Western, I believe.
Hold on.
Okay. Well, I hope you're all having a good time so far. We're doing the business on these movies. We're almost at Maniac Con.
I know, I'm a crazy woman.
You're fine. Oh, we got the poster again. This is another good-looking poster. Yellow Hair and the Fortress of Gold. Now, this looks like it's a Western to me, but the tagline that really does it for me is "She's a female Indiana Jones."
That's what they said. Yeah. Once again, we shot this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Once again, we shot this film in Spain, in Almeria, in Segovia, and we shot this film primarily in Almeria because it was a Western. So I did what I love to do, and that is ride horses and jump horses and ride Western because I'm very athletic, always have, always will be, hopefully. So yeah, I'm a half-breed in the film. I play a half-breed. And, it goes back to the days of comic books. That was the intent of Matt Simber, the director.
Mm-hmm.
I like that film a lot, but I absolutely love Hundra because I was allowed to do all the stunts except the one I mentioned. And it was about women's empowerment way before all this hashtag Me Too, pardon me, Time's Up stuff came up in January. It predated, Hundra predated all of this stuff about women.
What are your thoughts on Me Too?
I think in the beginning, I feel that it was very legitimate, and I put on Twitter to Alyssa Milano that I was one of the victims, which I was.
Can you go into detail about that? Or?
Yes, I will, but I will not say the name.
Okay.
I was with a major agency, one of the 3 biggest agencies at the time, and one of my agents, the main agent, was constantly coming on to me and trying to get me to go out with him and so forth and so on, and I didn't do it. So one time he's called and said his sister's up from Palm Springs, and his family was going to be there, so and so forth and so on. So I said, okay. So he came and picked me up at my apartment in Beverly Hills. At the time, I had a rescue sushi bear. It was a Lhasa Apso. And immediately, my dog peed on his leg. And so that told me when Sushi Bear did something like that, Sushi Bear didn't like this agent in the first place. So we went out and we came back, and I said, okay, so and so, call him Bob. Okay, thank you so much, Bob. I had a great time. It was a wonderful evening and so forth. And then he said he wanted to come in and make love to me and he wanted to have sex with me and this and that. And I said, no, that's not going to happen. I'm sorry. No, that's not going to happen. And he said, what do you mean it's not going to happen? And he's trying to push his way in the door. And once again, my dog peed on his leg, on his pant leg. And he still wanted to come in. And I said, no, no, no. He said, why not? He looked up at me because he was very tiny. And, you know, I'm tall. And I said, no, for 2 reasons. And he said, what? And I said, 1, you're my agent. And 2, you're not my type. Well, I was just being forthright and honest. And he was livid. So he left in a rage. And I didn't hear from the agency for 3 weeks. So I called the agency and I spoke to the gatekeeper. And she said, oh, Bob is really busy. And so I said, I haven't been sent out. Nobody's calling me. I've been starring in these major films, one after another. No one's even called me to send me out or anything. And his assistant said, well, he's busy. I'll give him the message. So another week goes by and I don't hear from them. So I started calling around to other agents, and all the other agents said they would take me in a heartbeat. And I said, thank you. And they wanted to know why I would be leaving this major agency. And I just said, well, it's personal reasons and it's just not working out. And I'd rather go with a boutique agency because I did not want to vilify, castigate, or get the individual into trouble. So anyway, he ultimately calls me. It was a Friday afternoon, and he says, well, you know, you probably wonder why you're not hearing from me, but I understand you're going to a bunch of other agents. And I said, yes, I have been. And he says, did you tell them anything? And I said, no, I did not tell them anything. And he says, well, you don't want to have sex. You said you don't want to have sex with me, and also I'm your agent. I said, that is true. I did say that. And he says, well, then there we go. That's it. I said, what does that mean? That's it, Bob. And he said, well, you said I'm not your type, and I'm not your type, and I'm your agent. So that's what happened. So I said, oh, okay. So that to me was saying I wasn't going to be sent out anymore. And they also said to me they would blackball me if I mentioned this. So I didn't mention it to anybody. I kept it to myself for a long, long time. Subsequent to that, 17 separate women came forward with a class action lawsuit against Bob. And I got a couple of calls from different attorneys saying, we understand you're one of these people. And I said, I don't want to get involved. Please, I don't want to be the 18th person to come forward. But
you were trying to get on with your life.
I'm sorry?
You were trying to get on with your life, you know?
Yes, I was. So as far as the hashtag Me Too movement goes, in the beginning, I was all for it. Women banding together and coming forward and expressing their stories and how they feel and what happened to them. And I'm very proud of those women that did it. But what has happened now, to me, is absolutely outrageous. And that is, a man cannot say to a woman, you look beautiful today, or your hair looks pretty.
Can't even say hello.
You can't even say hello.
Hey, how's it going?
You know, I don't know how it is where you are. You're in Vienna, Vienna?
Yeah. Don't dox me.
Sorry?
I'm a super secret individual. Don't dox me.
Okay. Well, you can't even say to a woman here. I feel very bad for men, because you cannot compliment a woman now. You cannot say, you look nice today. It's a pretty skirt. It's a pretty color on you, because it's hashtag Me Too, right? Women run right to Twitter or go wherever they do, or they say all these things in the media. And I feel bad for men. I think it's ridiculous.
Well,
it's lost its validity. It's lost its initial believability. It's obscene now to me that a man cannot compliment a woman. That Hollywood is so. I'm not going to say it. Hollywood is to the point where you cannot be yourself. You cannot be just respectful.
I'm gonna throw this out here. Do you think the cinematic world of Hollywood is bust?
Bust?
Broken?
Like my bust?
No. Broken. Like there's still films coming out of Hollywood, but now we're in this internet world where everything's interconnected. There's different ways to release films, different mediums.
Right. Platforms. You mean platforms?
Yeah, different platforms to release stuff on. Do you think a lot of Hollywood's power to make movies has diminished?
Yes, because well, it's good news and bad news. Okay, because to make a big Hollywood budget film is a good thing. But from my perspective, I prefer to do independent films because I'm sick and tired of the comic book movies. Okay, I'm sick and tired of them, and also very, very angry about one particular character from Marvel who pilfered an idea of Larry Cohen's and myself and used it in a movie. We have a comic book that we created called The Praying Mantis, okay? And a spectacular comic book, and we're trying to find a home for it right now.
When you say a spectacular comic book, you're not telling me that the spectacular Spider-Man stole your idea, are you?
No,
I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
Yeah. I just don't like. I'm kind of tired of movies of quality like the old times, the old movies. Like I said with Jimmy Stewart or Laurence Olivier, Marlon Brando.
Let's call it the golden age of Hollywood. I would say
they don't make movies like that anymore. I would love to make a movie like that.
I think they had the studio system, and they were just recycling writers and directors and actors into different features that they could produce stuff so quickly.
And there's a lot of nepotism that goes on in this town.
That's true.
Well, so.
I got a couple of questions from the chat here. Someone's asking, are you going to make a feature-length version of the Night of Terror short film?
No. You mean not Terror Tales? That's the one I just starred in. That's coming out. Jimmy Lee Combs directed that.
Okay.
You're talking about Terror Tales.
Well, the title. The title.
Night Terror was a short.
Yeah.
Night Terror. It was a short I did for a friend.
This guy is asking, is there any chance of a feature-length version of that?
No.
Okay.
No, for personal reasons.
He's also asking, what's your workout regime and how do you stay so fit?
I swim 3 times a week. I run my pit bulls, especially Moses. I don't eat anything white, like sugar, flour.
That's a bit racist, is it not?
It is racist. Okay. But I'm not a racist.
You're a food racist.
I'm a food racist. I love that. You're so funny.
Okay.
You're so funny. That's great. Yeah, food racist. Can I pilfer that? Can I coin that phrase and use it as my own?
Take it and go with it. Go straight on Twitter and tell them the joke.
That's so funny.
Tell me this. Let's get back to talking about movies because we're on course.
Okay.
Hitting the Maniac here. Tell me a little bit about America 3000. Is this another movie that was made in Spain?
No, that was made in Israel. And I don't want to say anything about it except it was a crime against cinema. Don't go see it.
What do you mean by that? What does crime against cinema mean?
It was the worst possible movie I ever made in my life.
How did you become involved with this then?
Because the script was one way, and when I got to Israel, they decided to change the script, so none of the movie makes sense whatsoever. And I did a documentary called it was by Mark Hartley. I did his documentary. It was everybody who ever worked for Canon Films. Not everybody, because there were probably 4,000 people. But they picked, I think, 90 of us. So he interviewed me for it. And what I did during the interview was I had a VHS of America 3000. I was holding it, and I was talking about the movie and what happened. And then I said, here's what I think of the movie. And I pulled out a lighter from my bra, and I lit the VHS on fire.
Oh my goodness!
On camera. If you ever see it, I forget the name of it. Mark Hartley did it. He's the director of Canon Films.
Okay.
He had a fit when I did it. I lit the movie on.
I think.
But I thought it was damn funny.
I think they brought the brand of Canon Films back. I'm not sure what they're working on, or a couple of years ago they brought it back, but I'm not sure if they released anything or if it was just it was a test the waters type experience.
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. But I don't want to talk about that movie because honestly, I'm ashamed of it.
Well, that's fine. Can you tell me what It's Alive 3 Island of the Alive is?
Island of the Alive. Well, I can only tell you really about my character because I never saw the movie. I didn't see the movie. I played a prostitute in the film, and it was an opportunity to work with the brilliant Michael Moriarty. So I worked with him in that, and also down the road I got to work with him in one of the Masters of Horror series called Pick Me Up, which I wrote the music for as well. And
really?
I'm a lyricist. Yeah. Yes, I am.
Do you keep any of your music online?
I have 2 songs I can send you. Pick Me Up from the movie Pick Me Up.
Okay.
And also Pick Me Up, and also another one that I wrote. And I don't sing. I am not a singer.
Okay. Well.
Captivity. The second one was called Captivity. I wrote all the lyrics. I also won. This is a bigger triumph for me than any film I've ever done, and that is I won the LAMCTA award.
What
14
is that?
of them. The Los Angeles Metro Transportation Safety. It was a campaign that my roommate and I did. He's a producer, director, Addison Wright, and him and I came up with all the ideas, 13 commercial spots we did that were amalgamated into 11 spots. And I wrote all the lyrics for every single spot. And I won the Aurora Awards, the Davie Awards, the Telly Awards, Platinum and Gold, everything. And the New York Film Festival Award. I have it. I have all of this here in my house.
Okay.
And we were up against BMW, Sony. We were up against the biggest companies in the world. Mm-hmm. And the lyrics that I wrote came in first place. I won the world gold medal. And I didn't use it.
The only one that counts. The world gold medal.
And they flew me there first class. I didn't know I was going to win. They just said I was one of the 5 finalists. I couldn't believe I was a finalist, but I won.
Look, let me bring you on to this topic.
Sure.
I'm sure people want to talk to you about this all the time. But you're in a little movie, and it's called I'm not sure if many people have heard of it, but it's called Maniac Cop, and it's got some guy called Bruce Campbell in it. I don't know who he is, and it's got sadly the late great Robert Z'Dar in it. What can you tell me about this movie?
Well, Larry Cohen wrote it, and he wrote the part for me.
Yes.
He named the character after my mother, Teresa, and it was a great experience working on that film. And I cannot believe the following that Maniac Cop has. I had no idea that people to this day write me constantly, or at autograph shows, that periodically I go to, and people just run up to me and bring pictures from the movie that I've never seen ever. And I said, "Where'd you get this picture? Can I have it?" "No, it's mine." So I sign it for them, and they want to take pictures, and that's fine. But I had no idea that movie, Maniac Cop 1 and 2, would be as I don't know. They're cult films, I guess, right?
I don't even believe so. I think they're remaking Maniac Cop. I don't know how close it's going to be to the original. Have you been approached for anything about that? Like, have they said we're remaking it? You have?
Yes, but I cannot go into it.
Okay, well, that probably means you're working on it then, right? Okay, we'll say no more.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Anyway,
we'll not say anything more about that. What can you tell me about Robert Z'Dar?
Robert Z'Dar? Oh God, he was in a lot of movies. He's a great actor, obviously. He's an incredible opera singer, and he does Frank Sinatra as good as Frank Sinatra, if you ask me.
Really?
He's very he's very I don't know how to explain it. He's very serious, right?
Very stoic face.
Yes. He's very he's quite as he appears on film.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It did bring a lot of presence. Obviously, he played the. I'm not spoiling the film for anyone. It's been out now for a long time. People have seen it. People are here because they've seen it. He plays the Maniac Cop himself, and he brings a lot of power. He has a lot of stature in that movie.
You mean Robert Z'Dar?
Yes. Playing the Maniac Cop. You yourself, what was it like being on set with him done up in makeup? Did you?
I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about Robert Davi.
Oh no! I was talking about Robert Z'Dar.
No, I love Robert Z'Dar.
All right, we gotta clean this up now. We've come to crossed wires. Robert Z'Dar is he
Robert
not?
Z'Dar was stoic. Robert Z'Dar was a sweetheart. Robert Davi was very stoic and very serious.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but Robert Z'Dar was very insecure about his looks. He always told me he was embarrassed and he couldn't get much work because he felt he was a freak. And I thought he was an absolutely wonderful human being. I lent him $500 once because that's how broke he was.
Did you ever get it back?
No.
I'm just looking for the gossip here. Okay.
I got $100 back. I went to his funeral, but he was an absolute doll. He was like a China doll. Everybody thinks, oh, he was this imposing, formidable character, but he was absolutely gracious and played jokes on people all the time.
Did he? Was he a little bit of a prankster?
He would just hide people's things. He would hide your keys. He was always making jokes. He was always just so happy.
I always remember.
Happy pills, but he was taking happy pills.
He was. What do you mean by that?
So I'm gonna leave it at that.
Okay, we'll not go into that. I always remember Robert Z'Dar, like they had the big payoff in Tango and Cash about his jaw, where Kurt Russell says to Stallone, whenever they go to jail, Robert comes up and says, "Hey, you broke my jaw," and Kurt Russell says to Stallone, "You broke that jaw?" And then I think he breaks it again because obviously it's their film, but. That's the unfortunate small role that he had in that movie. But he had great success with the Maniac Cop trilogy. You were only up as far as part 2 with Robert Davi. Did you survive that one? Because I haven't seen part 2 yet, I'm afraid. I'm sorry.
Something, John, I never saw it until about a month and a half ago. I was in Dallas with Larry Cohen and his family, and the producers of his documentary that I am in called King Cohen. And I went there to promote the film, the documentary. It just got a distributor, by the way, 2 days ago. So I'm so happy for Larry.
Okay, who's that coming out for?
I don't know. I just know from Antioch charity event a couple of nights ago. All the 4 producers told me we got a distributor. We got a distributor. So I'm so happy, so happy for him. Because Larry's my best friend of all time.
Okay, obviously you've wrote a comic book with him. You've wrote some scripts with him as well. So there's a long series of work that you've done. But you were saying Robert Davi is quite the singer. I'm aware he's released a couple of albums singing. Robert Davi very famously was in Die Hard, and he was the bad guy in the Bond film.
He was the FBI agent, remember?
Yeah, but more importantly, he was a bad guy in a Bond film. He was I forget his name, but it was it was in the Timothy Dalton, the final Timothy Dalton one, where he was a South American drug dealer.
He's coming back. Oh no, not Timothy Dalton. Oh, okay. He was in that one with Timothy Dalton, eh?
Yes.
All right. Okay. I didn't see that one.
Well, he was good. A lot of people say, the movie's not so good, but whatever. But what about Bruce Campbell? What was he like to work with? Was he professional?
Oh my gosh, he was funny. I had the biggest crush on him.
Did he know that?
I think so.
Can you go into details? Did he meet you?
There were no details to go into, unfortunately. He was married. No, he was married. But I had an incredible crush on him. I was just, because he was so funny, and because he is a writer, and I just was crazy about him. He was always making jokes, always very funny, and he was, I don't know, he was just a great guy to work with. And then he got divorced a couple of years later, and we saw each other once or twice for dinner, and I don't know, I didn't feel the same, and I don't know, nothing happened, but I think he's an absolutely magnificent actor. And I don't understand why he is not a superstar, to be honest.
I think he is in his own right in this day and age. I think he's at the point where.
I think he should be working. I think he should be working with the great talent.
I think he's picking and choosing stuff now. I think
maybe he is. Maybe he is.
It's not just.
You know who my favorite actor is?
Who's that?
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy, of course. He's
I'm crazy in love with Tom Hardy.
Venom in the new Venom film, and
it's coming out.
Mad Max. Hopefully they make a sequel to that. I would like to see more of that. But
my absolute favorite actor. He's a chameleon. He can do absolutely anything. And I knew Marlon Brando very well because I lived with Christian Brando for 10 years.
Okay.
So I knew Marlon, and Marlon was my second father. I always called him Pop. He always called me Vanilla. He always called me Vanilla for some reason. So I used to go up to his house on Mulholland all the time, and he treated me like a daughter, and I absolutely loved Marlon. But I got to tell you, Tom Hardy not only looks exactly like a young Marlon Brando to me, but he's a better actor than Marlon. And I've seen almost everything Marlon ever did. And I've seen almost everything Tom Hardy has ever done.
I'm going to get into the gossip. You've said that you've seen almost everything that Marlon ever did. Is there any truth in the Richard Pryor accusations that came out?
That they had sex together?
Yeah.
Well, I know he experimented. That's no secret in Hollywood at all. I wouldn't be telling you something you didn't already know. But he experimented, for some time. He never mentioned Richard Pryor to me when he divulged a few people that he had.
Are you saying that he might have took you aside and told you a couple of stories?
He told me a lot of stories.
Could you
Why?
tell me one?
Well, I'll tell you one on the top of my head.
Sure.
He had he lived at 12900 Mulholland Avenue, which is gone now. When he passed away, it's been torn down, and I think Jack Nicholson's people bought it. I believe. I'm quite sure. Anyway, there was this one time a guy broke into his property, and to get to Marlon's house, there's a big gate, and you can't get into he won't let you in unless you say, is Dr. Brand there? He always called himself Dr. Brand. So he told me when I called him to say it's Dr. Brand, and then he would answer the phone. He wouldn't answer the phone, and he wouldn't read his mail either unless it said Dr. Brand on it, which meant he knew who it was coming from.
Right.
So,
I had like a little code book.
yeah. And he had a big gate, and you would drive through that gate when he would let you in. And then you have to drive through another massive gate covered with ivy. And I knew the code to it. So I would just let myself in, and he rescued dogs, bless his heart. He rescued dogs. And he told me this one night, with all, I say this security for a reason. He had all this security on his property up there on the top of the hills. He had a view of the valley as far as you could see, but he had no view of LA. He always wished he had had a view of LA, he told me. So anyway, he said one night he heard a crashing at the window. Somebody got in the house, and he was holding a gigantic zucchini, this guy that broke into Marlon's house.
Right.
And he wanted Marlon to autograph it for him. So Marlon ran and grabbed a shotgun that he kept in his bedroom, and he screamed, "Here's your zucchini, baby." And he pumped the shotgun, and then the guy ran outside, and the guy got away by the time the cops got there, because Marlon lived on up in the hills. There were so many places you could really escape to, because I was up there playing with his dogs all the time. There were many places, so there wasn't really security, to be honest with you. Even though
he had broken in and didn't realize it was Marlon Brando's house?
I'm sorry?
You think he had broken in and didn't realize it was Marlon Brando's house until he saw him and went, "I just wanted an autograph"? Like this was his excuse?
I have no idea. I just know what Marlon told me. Oh, another story is when Christian Brando was in jail, because I went with Christian for 10 years. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We lived together for a long time. When the unfortunate tragedy of Dag Drolet getting murdered, he was murdered by Christian. Christian had come to me that night, and I lived with him up in the hills in a small house, but I also my own apartment, because Christian had a tendency to drink and do cocaine, and I would not drink and I would not do cocaine. So I kept my own place. I loved that he loved animals. He rescued raccoons, he rescued dogs, he rescued cats. We had a cat, Mountain Mew. Her name was Mountain Mew. He rescued possums, and he was a mountain man. He was a mountain guy, and he didn't care about Hollywood. He hated Hollywood, and so did Marlon Brando, by the way. So anyway, we went up to see Christian in jail at CMC, California Men's Colony. We went to visit him, and Marlon and I talked a lot driving up there. We always talked a lot. We would drive up and go visit Christian, or I would go up by myself. I would take a bus sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But
you don't drive?
No, I drive. Of course I drive, but I would take the bus up to see him. Most times I drove to see him. Most times I did drive, yeah. So one time Marlon says, I'm really hungry. And I said, yeah, that's new. What else is new? So anyway, we get off the freeway, and he sees a little Mexican restaurant. And remember, this is Marlon Brando, eh? So yeah. He sees a toilet a toilet seat, a toilet in front of the Mexican restaurant. And he says, this is where I want to eat. So I said, fine, whatever. That's cool. I don't care. I thought it was actually very funny. So we went inside and he says, watch what's going to happen. Watch what's going to happen. It's going to be double time. And I said, what does that mean? I don't understand. And he says, just watch what's going to happen. So we're sitting down. He had a hat on. He had his sunglasses on. And then they came over and they said, well, what do you want? And he said, I want 3 hamburgers. And so they said, okay. And I forget what I ordered, some iced tea and something to eat. And then Marlon took off his glasses and he took off his hat and he just put them on the table. And the guy came back with the food and he looked at Marlon and he Mr. Brando. Next thing we know, there's 8 or 9 people enveloping our table. Mr. Brando this, Mr. Brando that. What can I do for you? Mr. Brando this, Mr. Brando, we're going to give you food on the house. It's all in the house. It's all in the house. And Marlon says, now fucking wait a minute here. What the fuck is this? I am a fucking human being. Don't treat me better than you. I'm not better than you. And you're not better than me. So give me the fucking check and let's just be reasonable here. And the people, okay, Mr. Brando. So they walk away, the people walk away like, oh my God. And he says, see what I mean by double time? He says, that's the horror of being a celebrity.
But Brando was such a superstar, like there's only one man who could play Superman's dad, when you think about it. He was that big.
Yeah, he was bigger than life.
That's an incredible impression you have of him. Did you ever do that for him, or was it always behind closed doors?
He said I did him better. Marlon said I did him better than Marlon did him. So
that's a couple of good stories about him. Let me ask you about these upcoming features that you have going on, because you seem to be busy. Can you tell me about what you're working on at the minute?
Yes. Well, I just finished, I feel, which is the greatest role I've ever played, and that is called Agrimon's Gate. Agrimon's Gate. And Agrimon is the left hand of the devil. Agrimon is the demon of fear. Okay? Fear. And I love doing psychological thrillers. I don't like doing slasher films. I don't do them. Some people say, oh, you're a scream queen. And I say, what? I do comedies. I do every genre. I do drama. I do everything. Don't call me a scream queen. I'm not a scream queen. And I never was, except in Maniac Cop. I screamed. But anyway, what was the question?
I'm just asking about what you got upcoming. Let's read through them here from IMDb. You've got banned, exploited, and backlisted: the underground work of controversial filmmaker Shin Ryan.
That's nonsense. I don't know who put that up there.
That's nonsense. You're not part of that. What about Nation's Fire?
Oh yeah. I worked opposite Bruce Dern in that, and it's a Bruce Dern. He was nominated for an Academy Award twice.
Yes, I remember Bruce Dern from The Driver. Yeah. He was wonderful in that film.
Yes, and not in Nevada. What was he nominated for recently? 3 years ago. The Tarantino film, Hateful Eight. No, he wasn't nominated for that.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, that was the biggest film I can think of. I remember Bruce Dern being in it.
He got an Oscar nomination a couple of years ago. He's been nominated twice. But anyway, I got to work with him. He played my much older husband in the film, and I played backed out, lunatic, alcoholic wife of his. He plays my much older husband in the film.
All right. Can I ask what you did to prepare for the role? Did you method act? I'm joking.
No, I didn't drink. I just did what I did when I used to drink, which wasn't very pretty. But I'm getting incredible feedback for that. And after I was finished shooting that movie, Bruce Dern said in front of the entire cast and crew, He put his arm around me and he said, Laurene, I have worked with the best of the best. I've worked with the greatest actresses, and the only actress I've ever worked with in my life, in your age range, that is better than you, the only actress, and everybody listen up, is my daughter.
Really? That's quite high praise. But tell me this: you don't drink anymore. Why is that?
Because I'm an alcoholic.
Okay, well, that's a simple
I don't drink. That's all simple.
That's a simple enough answer. That's that cleared up.
But all my friends drink, and all my friends smoke pot, and that's fine, and I'm very happy for them. Do what you want. I just can't do it because I just can't. I can't stop at one, and so I don't drink. That's it.
Okay.
That's all.
We've talked about Agrimon's Gate, but you think this could be one of your best films to date?
Yes. It's about a seance that goes horribly wrong. I am the mother of the lead actor.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in a mental hospital for 25 years.
Okay.
And what happened in the beginning of this movie is there's a seance going on. During the seance, something comes through. My son, who's married, did not want to participate in the seance. He just thought it was stupid, but he got involved. And something comes through the medium, and it is Agrimon, the demon of fear, the left hand of the devil. And he comes in the form of my ex-husband, who is played by Jan Birch, who was in the people at the bottom of the stairs, who lived in the stairs, whatever. He's a very big horror actor, Jan Birch, and he's absolutely gorgeous, but not as gorgeous as Tom Hardy. Nobody is. So
okay. Let me.
But anyway, so it's a suspense thriller, and I love suspense thriller. Anything that deals with the psyche, and I think we can all relate to fear, right? Fear has Fear has always been my constant companion. You know, I've always been terrified of something. I live in perpetual fear. So for me to play this role, I play an absolutely psychotic mother, because I saw my son when he was 12 murder my husband in front of me with a shotgun.
In the movie? And,
yes.
Okay. Just to be clear.
Yeah. Yes. So I can't deal with what happened, and I went insane, completely insane. And then Agrimon comes to visit me in the form of Jan Birch, my former husband. And then he touches me, and a lot of people get possessed by this. And you don't know, I'm not going to say if I get possessed or not, but I'm getting incredible feedback.
Do we know when this film will be released?
October. It comes out October 3rd. Yeah.
October. Will that be streaming, or is that be in cinemas?
No, cinemas.
Okay, but
so is Nation's Fire.
Hopefully both, because I find it difficult to get some of these.
Nation's Fire too. Is from what I've been told, is a Universal picture. I also have Sky. I play opposite Diane Kruger. I play a bunny girl on the strip, and the Hollywood Reporter says my performance is so astonishing, you wish the entire film was about Laurene. So that was quite a compliment. I play Charlene on the strip. It's on Netflix, so please go to Netflix and watch it. Also, Syndicate Smasher.
Is this the movie I'm looking at here called Robo-Woman?
No, that's my next film.
So it's another film where you're playing someone called Charlene.
That's Carlini.
Oh, sorry. I can't read. My mistake. What can you tell me about Robo-Woman then?
Okay, you're familiar with the Bionic Woman, eh?
Yes. Played by
Wagner.
Yes, of course. My head went. They had a remake of that not so long ago, but I keep hearing they're trying to make a movie of the Bionic Man. But this is something in the same vein of that?
I'm not Robo-Woman at all. I'm her best friend.
Wow, that's a shame.
Oh, no, my part is bigger than hers, because she's in the hospital half the time. But what is played by Donna Lee Heising, who is a fabulous actress. And we've been rehearsing a lot lately. And she is, she looks one way, but when she rehearses, she's completely different. She's unbelievable, to say the least. She's just
what do you mean by that? Like, she looks one way, but when she rehearses, what does that mean? She's different every time, or?
Well, she's so beautiful. She's blonde, blue-eyed, very blonde, very blue-eyed, and has a very childlike voice, like a Marilyn Monroe voice. She's very deceptive when you see her, and she has a heart of gold. She's the nicest, kindest person I think I've ever met in this industry, and that's a fact. And that's Donna Lee Heising. So please, everybody, go to IMDb and look up Robo Woman. Please look up me on IMDb, please, and give me a like. Give my page a like. And
I don't think you can like pages. You should actually follow Laurene on Twitter, where she's at Laurene Landon.
Yes, I'm on Twitter, but I'm more on Facebook. Twitter, I'm still trying to figure out because I don't understand what I'm doing. I just press all the buttons and hope something happens.
Don't worry.
Makes sense? How did you find me? Because you said
I just looked you up.
Why?
I can't remember. We're looking for guests for the show.
Oh, okay.
I think that was it. We were trying to get someone else, and then I thought, hey, I'll try Laurene Landon, and you can.
So you had somebody else first, and they.
No, that was the joke I was pulling last night. But like last night, I was,
Oh, what did you mean by this is a waste of time?
Don't want to get into this, man, because like I was drunk tweeting. Okay, it's not like I was planning my day around this interview. This just happened so quickly that I had to. I just had a couple of beers, and I don't even want to admit this. Why am I admitting to this?
People. It's all right. So what? I'm glad you did. What is your show called?
It's just called CreightonJK Live at the minute. I don't know. Like maybe I'll start calling it the shit show or something. But it's just a little bit of fun. We just interview people and.
I think you should call it the shit show.
The shit show.
Absolutely.
I think someone else might have that name.
Oh really?
Yeah. Someone else might have that name. Well, look, I think we're up to like almost 2 hours here. Will we end it here, or is there anything else that?
I gotta go to rehearsal anyway at 2:30. So.
Well, thank you very much for joining me. Perhaps you'll join me again if there's anything you wish to talk about.
I would love to. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I really, really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me.
Believe me.
I'm sorry the lighting's so horrible. There's no lighting in my bedroom here.
Listen.
Upstairs.
Believe
There's no
me.
lighting.
It's everything you've said. It's all right back at you.
All right.
I'm gonna end the show.
God bless you. And please